All right, my couture crafters, let's get into this card. And yes, that is a denim envelope. All right, we're using the Bell stamps by the Bellflowers by Altenew. And this is a larger card. I wanted to do some masking, although I couldn't find my Inkadinka masking paper, which makes me very, very sad. I think this one measures 8. No, it probably measures like 7.5 by 4. I don't know. It's one of my bases that I use. I auditioned this process before I did it. I think it's 4.5. Maybe it's 4.5 by 7.5. So I'm doing a little masking and I'm grabbing my post-it tape and I'm making sure that I'm covering the back part of this card. I don't want anything to get on that because I'm going to be doing a little ink blending. And there we go. I need to use a little bit of repositionable adhesive to tack that down so it doesn't get in the way. And I cut out an oval and a rectangle, and I did this on my Cricut. And it's the same size as whatever that panel is that I'm using, which I think again is a 4.5 by, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe it's 4.5 by 8, maybe. And I use the positive image there. I use the negative image to place the positive image. So I put the negative image down first, and then I put the positive inside of it. Then I remove the negative. So that way all we have is an oval just to try to center it. So this is my first time using these picket fence brushes. And I use the first color, which I believe is Iceberg from this Altenew set with the 4 in there. Iceberg is a light blue color. I can't see anything happening. I'm getting frustrated. And I mean, I worked this card forever. I thought this would be kind of like painting with a brush. I thought that it was going to lay down ink because these are called life-changing brushes. And all this did was annoy my life. It did not change my life at this point. I don't know if it's because I'm using that super light color and I just can't see it working. I'm sure if I had lifted up the oval at this point, I would have seen a halo, but I just couldn't. It just was not working in the way that I thought it would. I'm pushing hard, I'm pushing softly. I'm going in circular motions. I'm starting on the the mask. I'm not starting on the paper so that I get any harsh lines. I'm working my way down through the colors and I'm just not getting it at all. It's not working. It's not pretty. I've seen people come up with blends that are just beautiful, and I'm like, why is this not working for me? Maybe it's the ink. Why could it be the ink? I don't know because those are brand new ink pads. But maybe it's the ink. So I pull out some distress ink. I'm like, go for some tumbled glass. Let's see what happens. And I got nothing. And I mean, I really wasn't scared to dig into those little mini ink pads there. And I still got nothing. Made me unhappy. Let's grab some Salty Ocean. Maybe it's because these colors aren't dark enough, so I'm grabbing Salty Ocean. And I get a little bit there. You can kind of see the Salty Ocean coming up. But I'm like, something is up. And those ink pads have been around for a while, so maybe those are dry. That's absolutely possible because I've had them forever. They are my go-to for ink blending. I use them with foam, so I'm like, maybe that's the issue. But I venture out outside the oval and I start coming down the card. Now what's happening is I'm building up ink on these edges, but not around that oval the way that I wanted to. I saw this card being a super vibrant jewel tone card with my fence brushes that were going to change my life and it's going to be amazing. I'm using Nina 80-pound cardstock, so I know that that shouldn't be the issue. Yeah, it was a fail. I tried Catherine Pooler ink. I tried everything, and I just couldn't get it as deep or as dark as I wanted. But obviously, something was happening because there you have it. And I used repositionable adhesive to tack that down. So now I'm just using my hand to roll it away. Now let's get into the stamping. I always talk about having blocks, acrylic blocks, to use your stamps that have lines in them so that they're easier to line up. I'm actually finding that that might not be so true. The all the way clear blocks from Stampin' Up have really been great to me for this, for trying to line it up because sometimes the lines would be in my way. So I'm just using a straight clear block here so I can see exactly what I'm doing. And I'm auditioning right now. I'm playing and I'm looking to see how much room and where I need to place that blade of grass, or the stem I should say. Using another Ulta ink color. I think I have recently completed my entire collection of Altenew inks, which I love. They have an amazing selection of colors. Their inks work well. And if you try to have a bunch of different inks from a bunch of different lines, you'll just have a mess of a collection. So my ink collection is very, very focused. My actual stamp collection is pretty focused too. I just don't have a whole bunch of stuff from everywhere. There are some companies that I really stick with, and their products work really nicely together. Using a Catherine Pooler block here, this one actually does have lines on it. It's circular, but it fits really nice and feels good in my hand. Don't be scared to rotate your paper around to make it feel the best for you. With Altenew ink pads, I find it best, especially with a solid stamp. You're going to lay it down, you're going to twist, then you're going to tap, 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 twist, tap, tap, tap. That's making sure that you're getting ink all over and also trying to get rid of the felt marks that might be coming up. That's one of the perks of having Catherine Pooler inks, is that it's a wonderful transfer. You're not having those felt lines, those fine lines that look like fabric coming up on your stamp. Although Catherine Pooler just doesn't have the selection of colors that Altenew has, it's an amazing line, a great place to start, and she's forever adding to her color selection. And now I'm just putting these stamps where I think they should go. I'm certainly not going to make you guys watch me layer these, because I am one of those people who has to be directly over my stamp when I layer. I don't know how the people on Altenew, when they're doing their videos and showing you how to layer their stamps, it's like they can do it without even hovering. I don't know how they do it. But this is a 4-layer stamp, so I just worked my way through their orange colors. I grabbed, it needed a big sentiment, a big bold sentiment. So this is that Letter It set that you can get from Michaels by Ranger. These are not great quality stamps, but they are good to have. And I think the theory behind them was that you could trace them, or you could look like you have done some lettering. And I think they come with, no, they don't come with anything. They have the stamp set, but I think they want you to be able to take the perfect pearls and kind of dust those over the perfect medium when you stamp with the perfect medium, so that you have these beautiful gold sentiments that look like you handed them. They're really nice the way that they're designed, but the quality again is so poor. You can tell when you're using it. So of course my ink was just beating up on them, and I was using a Catherine Pooler ink. So I decided to use my eraser to give it a little prep before I used the ink. This works so well on Altenew stamps, which are a much better quality. This is the worst quality in the world, and what I should have done is just gone straight for VersaFine pigment ink. That's one of the ways to get a good impression. I have a whole stamp video on how to get a good impression with your stamps. And we stamp it down, and it looks pretty good, but I can still see that it's a little splotchy. And you can tell that it's not super crisp, and that's because it's a dye ink and it was bubbling up a little bit. So here I'm using VersaFine first, and then I use some Catherine Pooler to see if I can get it to stick a little bit better. And see if I can make it a little bit more solid. You can't see it, but I can. And that came out okay, but I was like, eh. And then I was like, this card still needs something. It's too much blank space down there at the bottom for me, for my aesthetic today. So I grabbed another one of the stamps from that stamp set, and it says "For You." And I just did the right thing and grabbed some VersaFine Clear, a dark blue. Took it out the plastic. I need to swatch all of these so that I know what color is what. It's so annoying. I say it every time. I don't know what I have. And stamped it down. Now the color is not the exact same, but it's not enough to really bother me. I saw that card going so differently. And then this is an Altenew, I think it's called Crafty Friends Make the Best Friends stamp set. And I grabbed something about, I don't know what it says, but I never stamp these dead in the center like normal, because we got to be funky about everything that we do. And so I just stamp it down there at the bottom. Yep. Now here comes the fun part. This is denim paper. It's that Joann's 12 by 12 stack that has the light denim paper and the dark denim paper. And I decided I was going to use it to make the envelope. What? Now, this is actual fabric, so it's fabric that's backed with paper. And that was me opening up my brand new envelope punch. Nothing happened to the other one other than the fact that I think I threw it away. This trimmer cuts like butter through this paper. If it's fabric, again, guys, remember it's actual fabric. It moves kind of like fabric. It's just got a thin sheet of paper on the back. Now, I go back and forth a lot with my first one and my old one. I tested this to see if it would notch, and it notched well on my old one. And I'm like, you know what? I do not need to be messing up this brand new trimmer just in case this is making it angry. So what I do is I put it in there and I let it make the indentation, and then I just cut it out. It works. So then I grab the old one. I go back and forth a lot, guys, because I was like, oh shoot, I need to score it. And because it extends past the machine, I need that swing arm, which is only available on the newer one. So you see I pulled the swing arm down so that I could score all the way down the paper. So then I switched back to the old one, notched it, because I don't want to tear up the new one as far as that cutter goes over there. And it doesn't cut all the way through it, but it gives me enough so that I can see where the cut is, and then I just clean it up with my scissors. And then I scored on the short side. Now I'm going to cut again so I can see the indentation, then just rock it out, and then just cut it out. No problem. And then I'm probably going to grab the other one so then I can, okay, so I score, look, the score line does not come all the way down to the side. So when I turn it, I can barely see where that line is, but whatever. Whatever, I figured it out. You got to want this one. I'm not saying it was the hardest thing to do, it just wasn't the easiest thing to do either. And then I scored it again. This did not take a long time. It was worth it, in my opinion, because now I have a denim envelope. Do you have a denim envelope? Put in the work. Have some fun. So apparently that score line wasn't finished all the way to the end, so I needed to pull this one out again with the arm and use it. Don't try to actually cut through it. Just make a little indentation on your envelope and then use your scissors to cut it. I think that's the best way to do it. So I grabbed some double-sided tape, which is pretty strong, and I put it right there on that fabric. I figured once I had it all folded up, it just needed to hold it for just a little bit, but it held it really, really well. I was able to pull it and tug on it a little bit. And I'm using my blade to lift up the backing paper on there, and I have just a little bit of overhang. So I cut it with my scissors, and then I realized this does not fit. I don't know if I didn't measure it right. I don't know what size this card is. No worries, it just takes them off the bottom. So I took about 1/8 off the bottom, and now it fits. I had a little more overhang, so I just clipped it, and look, it's a denim envelope. Totally worth it. Now I decide I want to emboss, because your envelope has to truly match your card, right? So okay, I grabbed this little tool by Finnebear Art, and it's matte medium, and we're just pulling it through the card. We're just massaging it into the fabric. Just pull it, and massage it into the fabric. You can see that it leaves it a little bit darker, but it wasn't enough to bother me. So you just pull it through, massage it into the card, and that is a rubber or silicone nib, so it really doesn't hurt it. And I'm just massaging it in there. Now I can't wait for this to dry, and I'm sure you're probably not supposed to do this because matte medium is just Liquitex. It's just clear paint at the end of the day. And now I'm grabbing the third stamp in the set. Not the first one that you put down, but well, actually, technically it would be the second one if you're working your way through it, because it has a little bit more detail. The first one is just super solid, and this one has a little bit more detail. Versafine ink, not Versafine, Versamark ink, clear ink. So I put down Liquitex matte medium, dried it, then I grabbed my Versamark ink. And again, if that dark spot is bothering you, you can just go ahead and wipe the matte medium all over the entire thing. But it really just didn't bother me. It's such a slight difference. It's not a big deal. And I stamped both corners. Now I grabbed some embossing powder. And this is by Lindy Stamp Gang. And it's an iridescent kind of embossing powder. It's not a straight up opaque or anything like that, because we like our envelopes to just, give us a little hint of something. That was almost a big mess. Did you see me flick it? Now we close up our embossing powder. We tapped off the excess. And I'm using the brush on the opposite side of that Finnabair tool that you can get at Michael's. And I'm heating it up. I'm cooking that sucker with my Wagner heat gun. And there you go. What? Did we just heat emboss on fabric? We did. That happened. So this is my drawer full of pins. One of my drawers full of pins. And I grabbed out my dip pen. You guys know I'm about that dip pen life. There's nothing like penning a letter. Oh my gosh, when you sit down and write with it, you feel so great. I don't know why. This is the Heidi Swap set that you can get from Joann's. I want to get all the different colors of ink. I'm not going to make you guys watch me write that to Joan. I love Joan. She's been so supportive through the whole process. This is a spaghetti noodle that's not cooked. Great way to light candles, and a great way if you have long nails to light candles. We do not want any fires here. So I'm grabbing some wax melts. I think these melts are from AMZ Deco or from Amazon. And I'm looking for what colors will work best. I grab a couple of blue ones. Because they're so tiny, I grabbed 4 and let them melt. And I was like, what kind of seal should go on this card? I chose the rose. And in one of my previous videos, you see me talk about the newer seals that I have. I want some more Disney seals. They have like the Little Mermaid and that kind of stuff, and I will probably get some at some point. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen with this wax on fabric, but I just went for it. I jumped in. And then I just put the little rose there, and I just let it cool. I put out the light with the fire. Sometimes when you blow on a candle, that wax jumps out, and we're sitting at my craft station, and that's what I don't want to happen, because in front of it are my Catherine Pooler inks, so that's a no-no. And there we have the reveal. And so there you can see the iridescence, and it's a fabric jean envelope. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I will see you later.